This NBA playoffs with FanDuel, you're not just watching the playoffs, you're a part of them.
And we're back. Steve's got the phone, opens FanDuel, locks in player points, quick fingers, you love to see it. Now he's going for threes. Big night for Steve-O.
Be a part of the action and get better payouts this NBA playoffs on FanDuel. 21 plus and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET.
Welcome, everyone. This is Susan Lopresti. I am so happy to have you here with me today. Thank you for joining. I hope that I'm able to add some value to your day. Today, I want to share what it means to eat a plant-based whole foods diet. I want you to understand the benefits and how to go about making that transition. So first, let's look at the language. We're going to start by reviewing some definitions. Whole foods describes natural foods that are not heavily processed. So that means whole, unrefined, or minimally refined ingredients. Plant-based means foods that come from plants and doesn't contain animal ingredients such as meat or milk, eggs, or honey as well. And a whole foods plant-based diet is a lifestyle that is basically about eating mostly plants. It excludes or drastically reduces animal products. So no meat, dairy, eggs, and also processed, highly refined foods, such as bleached flours, refined sugars, and also oils. So that's also eliminated. The term vegan describes a lifestyle that excludes, as far as possible, all animal product for food, clothing, or any other purpose at all. And this includes, but it's not limited to, meat, fish, dairy, eggs, and honey. A vegetarian is more widely known as a lifestyle that excludes foods that consist of or have been used with the aid of products composed of or created from any part of the body of a living or a dead animal. It sounds so gross just to say that, right? This includes meat, poultry. It also includes fish and insects. And vegetarians typically will eat dairy and eggs. An omnivore is a person that eats food of both plant and animal origin. A carnivore follows a lifestyle that includes consuming meat. And you may be thinking that a whole foods plant-based diet is going to be hard work or boring, and that avoiding animal ingredients limits your options. But really think again, because this is your opportunity to become a more innovative cook. And as you try and you work with new ingredients, you're going to gain a deeper appreciation for food. And think of this experience as a flavor adventure. You may be asking yourself, well, why plant-based? And a ton of research has been done providing excellent scientific evidence that proves that many chronic diseases can be controlled or reduced or even reversed by moving to a whole foods plant-based diet. A book called The China Study, noted as the most comprehensive study of nutrition ever, shows that a plant-based diet can reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and certain types of cancer and other significant illnesses. There's 3 categories of plant-based benefits that have been identified. So the first one is easy weight management. And what I mean by that is people who eat a plant-based diet tend to be leaner than those who don't. And the diet makes it easy to lose weight and keep it off as well, which is always the trick, right? Is to keep it off without counting calories. And I know that for me, I always hated to count calories. The second thing is disease prevention. So a whole food, plant-based eating can prevent, halt, or even reverse chronic diseases, including heart disease and type 2 diabetes. a lighter environmental footprint. A plant-based diet places much less stress on our environment. And let's go over some of the disease prevention benefits in more detail. A healthy heart. One of the most well-known benefits of a whole food plant-based diet is increased heart health. Did you know that a plant-based diet is the only diet proven to prevent and reverse heart disease? No other diet can make that claim. Researchers have been studying the benefits of plant-based diets since the early 1980s. Recent research presented during the 2017 American Heart Association scientific sessions revealed that the plant-based diet could reduce the risk of heart failure by 42% among people who have no history of heart disease. Another study found that participants who consumed a plant-based diet even showed a reversal of coronary artery disease. Protective factors are attributed to both the quality and the types of food consumed. For example, a study published in the Journal of American College of Cardiology found that among 200,000 participants who followed a healthy plant-based diet rich in vegetables, also fruits, whole grains, legumes, and nuts, had a significantly lower risk of developing heart disease than those following a non-plant-based diet. So it's important to note that the study also found that unhealthy plant-based diets that included sugary drinks and fruit juices and refined grains was associated with a slightly increased risk of heart disease. And then the other topic that we need to talk about that we don't always like to talk about is the big C. And that suggests that following a plant-based diet may reduce your risk of certain types of cancer. And there are two important factors to know when discussing cancer. First, cancer cells thrive on a high sugar environment. When the cells are starved by reducing sugar, they cannot flourish. Second, while DNA can play a role in the risk of developing cancer, diet, lifestyle, and environmental factors are modifiable conditions that also contribute. Vegetarian diets are associated with significantly lower risk of gastrointestinal and colorectal cancer. Did you know that the American Cancer Society recommends that cancer survivors follow a plant-based diet that are high in fruits, vegetables, and unrefined grains, while at the same time being low in red and processed meats, refined grains, and sugars? Research has shown that a plant-based diet positively affects survival in cancer of breast, colon, prostate, and skin, which is melanoma. A whole foods plant-based diet can help reduce inflammation, boost your immune system, and decrease body weight, all of which attributes to reducing cancer risk. Diabetes prevention. A whole foods plant-based diet can help reduce inflammation, boost your immune system, and decrease body weight, all of which are attributed to reducing cancer risk. Diabetes prevention, let's look at that. Adopting a whole foods plant-based diet may be a useful tool in managing and reducing your risk of developing diabetes. Countless studies have examined the effects of diet and diabetes. The results are very promising. Let's take a look. A study of more than 200,000 people published in a peer-reviewed weekly medical journal found that those who adhered to a healthy plant-based eating pattern had a 34% lower risk of developing diabetes than those who followed an unhealthy non-plant-based diet. Similarly, a study published in Diabetes Care demonstrated that plant-based diets were associated with nearly a 50% reduction in the risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared to non-vegetarian diets. There's also good news for people with diabetes. A study published in Cardiovascular Diagnosis and Therapy found plant-based diets have been shown to improve blood sugar control in people with diabetes. Let's look at a plant-based diet and your brain. Plant-based eating is associated with many health benefits, and the brain is no exception to that. Plant-based diet appears to influence both mental health and cognitive function positively. Higher levels of antioxidants in the blood from plant sources have been associated with a significantly lower risk of depression and lower suicide rates as well. In both cross-sectional and interventional studies, vegetarians showed fewer symptoms of depression, anxiety, stress, and mood disturbance than omnivores. The higher levels of antioxidants are also attributed to slowing the progression of Alzheimer's disease and reversing cognitive deficiencies. Countless studies report an association between higher intakes of fruits and vegetables and reduction in cognitive decline. A meta-analysis, which is a review of several different studies of a similar subject, found that eating more fruits and vegetables led to a 20% reduction in the risk of developing cognitive impairment or dementia. The analysis reviewed 9 studies, including over 31,000 people. Those are stunning results. The benefits are pretty astonishing, right? I could go on all day about sharing scientific-backed benefits of whole foods plant-based diet, but I think that you really get the picture. If anyone here has any questions, you could always reach out to me at susanlopresti.com. It's www.susanlopresti.com. You can also schedule a free 30-minute health session with me. So go to my website, www.susanlopresti.com. I'm going to get into how to make this lifestyle transition to a whole foods plant-based diet as easy as possible. Switching to a plant-based diet, it can be a little bit intimidating at first. And so instead of focusing on what you shouldn't be eating or foods to avoid, I want you to have the focus on the good stuff that you should be eating. And here's a quick overview of the major food categories that you'll enjoy on a plant-based diet. So for example, looking at fruits, any and all types of fruits are available to you. The same with vegetables. Plenty of veggies. You could eat as many veggies as you want, regardless of what they are. The key here with this is also, if you're trying to lose weight, you want to be mindful of how you're cooking your veggies. So ideally, you could steam them with a little bit of olive oil and maybe balsamic vinegar or red wine vinegar or apple cider vinegar, or you may want to use coconut oil. Whatever your choices are, you want to be sure that you're being mindful, that you're not adding a lot of extra calories if you're also trying to lose weight. So veggies, peppers, corns, avocado, lettuce, spinach, kale, you name it, it's yours. Whole grains, cereals, and other starches in their whole form. We want them in their whole form. So such grains as quinoa and brown rice, millet is great, whole wheat, oats, barley, even popcorn is a whole grain. And then what about legumes? Legumes are great. Beans of any kinds, plus lentils and any kind of similar ingredients that you want to pick from the whole legumes family. Don't worry, there's so much more than what I've listed above. That's just a little snapshot of any and every fruit and vegetable that you could think of. is on your list of things to eat. So let's talk about health goals. Success in any aspect of life comes down to setting a goal. And here are some tips for establishing an achievable goal for yourself. So first of all, you need to become aware of your need, right? And then you want to envision that outcome. And you want to set the intention, focus on the goal, take action to achieve the goal, because you always need to take action, right? And then have faith that if you set the intention and the focus and you take action, you will reach your goal and the outcome that is best for you. You may want to start big and then create stepping stones, so smaller goals to achieve the bigger picture goal, right? So for example, where do you want your health to be 10 years from now? And so this is your big picture goal. From here, you want to create smaller goals that will enable you to reach that ultimate goal. And one way to do that is through SMART goal setting. And so what do I mean by that? So here's the acronym: SMART. S, specific. M, measurable. A, achievable. R, rewarding. And T, timely. Remember, any goal worth achieving is a goal that's worth working towards. If any of you are having trouble establishing your SMART goals, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and we can talk about how to develop your SMART goals. And that could be your 30-minute free health coaching session with me. So don't hesitate to reach out. We could develop your SMART goals together. Now I want to go on to talk about kitchen prep. Once you have a goal planned out, you'll want to prepare your kitchen to help to keep you on track. And this means you want to be removing the foods that are on your list that you're not going to be eating. And then you want to be adding in the foods that are on the list that you will be eating. So let's look at that list now. And it's going to consist of greens, fruits, water, lemons, vitamins, legumes, nuts, seeds, and herbal teas. And I'll talk about supplements in a little bit. The things on your don't want list are sugar and sugar substitutes, caffeine, dairy, meat, processed foods, and soda. And we want to look at what a well-stocked pantry will help you with. So it will help you along your road to success. You may eventually also want to invest in a juicer or a blender or a food hydrator. And these are all nice to have, but they're really not necessary for getting started. That's a good excuse not to start though, right? Is that you don't have them. But you will, however, want to invest in glass containers that have lids to help you with food prep. And shopping. So let's talk about shopping. Some people dread food shopping. So let's make it easy for yourself by meal planning and gathering a few recipes that maybe have the same ingredients. So you could have a couple of different recipes that all call for the same ingredients, and that will help your shopping list. And also, when writing out your list of ingredients, picture that grocery store and list out items per store department rather than going by the recipe to help you stay organized and to get you through the store faster. Also, a great suggestion is to avoid getting bored. Try different flavors and different foods and expand your shopping from your local supermarkets and go to ethnic supermarkets as well. There you'll find different spices and different things that you may have never tried before that could add variety and literally spice to your life. So branch out and go to different places to do your shopping. And also purchase local produce. Local items will most likely be fresher because they didn't have to travel. They're right there already, and they may have less chemical exposure and have also a lower impact on the environment. So those are also great tips. And another great tip is when you're shopping at your grocery store, stick to the perimeter of the store for the healthier foods. The middle of the store contains all the processed and packaged items that you want to avoid. So just walk around the whole perimeter of the store, and that's where you'll get most of your healthier foods. And then we want to also talk about prep time. So before you go shopping, make sure to give yourself prep time when you get home from the grocery store. And trust me, this way you're more likely to use all the produce if you're ready to go when hunger strikes. So just make it a habit when you get home from the grocery store to wash and cut everything before putting it away. And this will help to cut down on meal prep time as well. We all have busy schedules, and that prevents most of us from cooking fresh meals every day. But if you prep ahead of time and you don't have to do all that chopping and dicing and washing, all you have to do really is to cook it. And that's where these glass containers with the lids come in, and you'll find them handy because some foods can be cut and stored while others can be cooked and reheated. So produce will typically last up to 10 days in the refrigerator. Fresh herbs have a shorter lifespan, but you could buy herb plants for your kitchen, or you can mix herbs with a healthy oil to cook with later on. And then let's get some tips for getting started. So to make your transition as smooth as possible, here are a few helpful tips to get you started. Start by eating more of the plant-based meals that you already eat. So if you eat rice and beans or veggie stir fries and pasta with tomato sauce, they're already vegetarian meals. And then sift through all your current food routine and pick out all the meatless meals that you already enjoy. So now you already have like a little bit of a base of foods that you could eat, and then shift the balance, right? So when eating a meal that you enjoy with meat, add a substitute to that meat. So if it calls for chopped meat, maybe you want to put some beans in there. You don't have to give up your favorite animal foods immediately. That's another thing that I really want you to know. If you want to cut back on animal products, you could just add in more of the plant-based proteins and sort of wean off of the animal-based proteins if you want to try that. Once you start eliminating those animal proteins from your diet, you'll get accustomed to eating less and less, and sooner or later you may actually find yourself as a plant-based eater. Another thing is that when you're around friends, you may have a little bit of a challenge around you if you go to someone's house. So you may want to start talking to your friends about what you're planning to do and invite friends to maybe join you. You know, there may be a friend of yours in your friend group that says, you know what, gee, my doctor's been telling me that I have high cholesterol. Maybe I should try eliminating animal proteins from my diet and see if my cholesterol levels will go down. So you never know in talking to friends and family who may have also been thinking about cutting animal protein from their diet. Get a little group going if you want. In the notes, I'm going to share some plant-based recipes. So I have a burrito bowl recipe. I also have easy Thai noodles that I'll be giving you, and a salad recipe as well. I want to touch on supplements also because I'm a big believer in supplements if you need supplements. So I would suggest that you go to your doctor and have blood work done on your vitamin levels, and they will be able to tell you exactly where you're deficient and where you're good, and then you could supplement as well. But what I feel also is important is that when you do change to a plant-based whole foods diet, you will be getting many, many nutrients when you change to this type of a diet, because you're eating all kinds of nutrient-rich foods on a daily basis. Every food that you put in your mouth is either a fruit or a vegetable of some kind and a plant-based protein. You're basically getting all the nutrients that you need. But if you're vitamin deficient in anything, then of course I would recommend supplementation. So let's talk about greater nutrition. Whole foods are complex, containing a variety of micronutrients that your body needs, and also essential fiber. Whole foods such as whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and legumes provide dietary fiber, which is necessary for a healthy diet. And then protective substances. Whole foods contain other substances that are necessary for good health. For example, naturally occurring elements called phytochemicals and antioxidants can be found in all fruits and vegetables, and they're what helps against aging. Those are antioxidants. They help prevent oxidative stress and cause aging. And then stay motivated. As you continue to switch to a whole foods diet, you want to make sure that you check in with your goals. This will help you to keep motivated, and you may find that your goals change over time, and that's totally okay. You can adapt to your new goals, right? That's the key to staying motivated. And I know that switching to a whole foods plant-based diet can seem very daunting. So at any time that you need a little bit of help, you could always reach out to me. You can leave me a message here, or you can email me at susan@susanlopresti.com, and also go to my website, www.susanlopresti.com. Again, thank you so much for being here with me today. I so appreciate your valuable time. I hope that I was able to add some value to your day. And until the next time, stay well, be happy, and bye for now.